In this video, I'm going to tell you why you have low self-esteem. Now, maybe at this particular moment that I'm making this video, you do not have low self-esteem. You feel like you're on top of the world and everything is beautiful, okay? Nevertheless, at some point in your life, in your past, maybe at some point in your future, you're going to run into feelings of worthlessness. You're going to feel worthless as an entity, as a human being. You have felt it in the past. Maybe you feel it at this particular moment that I'm speaking to you. Maybe you will feel it in the future. But make no mistake about it. 100% of all human beings experience deep, deep states of worthlessness and low self-esteem. Without exception. Without exception. Okay? Well, there are exceptions. Those are the self-realized beings, because the self-realized beings have basically dealt with this existential issue at its deep root. And that's what we're going to tackle in this video. Why is it that you have low self-esteem? Why is it that you feel worthless as a human being? Maybe, I don't know, you don't think you are mateable enough, not sexy enough. And you start to compare and you say, well, other women are sexier than me and other men are more attractive than me. They have more money, they have more power, they're taller, whatever, you know, and you start to feel, you know, worthlessness. We all have our trips, we all have our reasons for those feelings, okay? And they're rooted deeply in the primary identification of the physical body and the primary identification with the psychological identity. So you have the physical body. That's, you know, I mean, you look at your body, say that's my body, right? That's, you're identified with your physical body primarily. And then your psychological identity, which is your ego, your storyline. Like, for example, you know, Saeed is a good guy, Saeed is a bad guy, Saeed is this, Saeed is that, all the cute little stories that you tell yourself, right? And that's your psychological identity. That's your ego, that's the storyline, you know, like you see a lot of people, for example, who do psychedelics and they start to call themselves psychonauts and they become identified with this identity of psychonauts. Same thing with vegans, right? And that becomes who they are. You know, that becomes who they are, and so they feel like now they're in a little box. That's your psychological identity. Okay? Now, primary identification with the physical identity and with the psychological identity inevitably is going to lead to feelings of worthlessness. And here is why. Here is why. They're both finite. They're both finite. Your psychological identity is finite. Your physical identity is finite. I'm sorry to break it to you, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news over and over and over, but you're a finite entity as far as your physical body is concerned and as far as your psychological identity is concerned. This is like having a big, heavy piano over your head and you're constantly looking up and you're like, oh, fuck no, it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall. Maybe it could fall, maybe it couldn't fall. Well, no, that question doesn't even exist. It will fall. Okay, that piano is going to fall on your head. Make no mistake about it. You can evade it all you want, you can do life extension, you can really take care of your health like your friend over here does, but that piano is gonna fall over. That's inevitable, okay? And so, because you know that that piano is gonna fall over, your existence is being threatened 24/7 by that. That's your existence, your physical existence, your psychological existence are being 100% of the time, 24/7, being threatened. At any moment, that piano could fall off. At any moment. So of course you're going to feel worthless if you're primarily identified with the physical body and with the psychological identity of you. Yeah. So in order for you to be free of that, you have to start primarily identifying with something that is there, that is going to exist forever. So our sense of separateness, feeling separate, is what ultimately causes us low self-esteem, feelings of low confidence, of worthlessness, okay? Because I'll give you an example here. Let's say you think you're not sexy, you're not mateable, okay? As a man or as a woman, well, here is the finite part of you, the physical and psychological. The psychological identity that you're identified with says, I'm not mateable. So my society doesn't look at me as mateable. So means my genetics are not good enough, my DNA is not good enough, my body, my physical body is not good enough. And this sense of depression because you can't pass down your genetics anymore, because you don't think you're sexy enough to pass down your genetics, and you're not high up in the social hierarchy of mating, right? So therefore, a deep sense of despair and worthlessness over your finite existence. You just, you say, well, I guess I can't, nobody thinks I'm good enough in the society, my genetics are not good enough, I'm not good enough, and you're primarily identified with your psychological identity and with your physical identity, so you go into deep despair and deep sense of worthlessness. Okay, so what's the solution to this? What's the ultimate solution? When I said the exception is self-realized beings who have freed themselves from this problem, well, here's the solution. The solution is that you become primarily identified with the part of you that is eternal, that is unchanging, and that's called the Atman in Hinduism. That's the soul. In Christianity, it's the word they use is the soul. In Hinduism, it's the Atman. And you can call it the loving awareness, you can call it the awareness. And that, if you're primarily become identified with that, and you see all your psychological identity and your physical identity as secondary, then and then could you begin to experience infinite confidence, infinite joy, and infinite freedom. Because that piano could no longer hurt you, because you were never born and you're never going to die, and you always exist. You are existence itself. And at this point on, low self-esteem and anxiety, existential anxiety, low self-esteem, feelings of worthlessness are virtually impossible, because you're identified with the one. You're identified with everything. You exist. You are existence. You will not cease to exist. So, for example, right here, right now, what's happening? Speaking is happening. The psychological entity in front of you, Saeed, is speaking. And his physical body is right here, okay? And he can touch it and he can see it, and you can see it, right? You can see my hands, you can see my mouth, you can see my face, you can see my hair. Well, okay, now, what am I identified with here? Am I identified with he who is speaking? Am I identified with Saeed? Or am I just the one experiencing Saeed? There's a huge difference there, huge difference. Because if I am identified with he who speaks, if I am identified with his physical body and his psychological identity and the activity that he does, if that's my identity, if that's who I think I am, okay? Then, if a Mongol horde comes here, I mean, I know it's 2019, yeah, I know it's 2019, there's no more Mongol hordes, but if a Mongol horde was to come by my window right now and cut off my tongue, I mean, the Mongols used to do a lot worse shit than that, okay? Cut off my tongue. Now, he can no longer speak. And if I am identified with he who speaks, he can no longer speak. And he lost his tongue because of the Mongols. Okay? So, you can see that if that's my primary identity, then I'm going to feel worthless. Because if my primary identity is to speak, is to be a speaker, I am not a speaker anymore. From the perspective of being primarily identified with my physical identity and my psychological identity, I am kind of doomed here, aren't I? I am doomed. However, if I am identified with he, with it, with the consciousness which is just is, which I am, like it is, then that doesn't matter. I was experiencing a guy that speaks, and now I'm experiencing a guy that got his tongue cut by the Mongol hordes of 2019. Okay? So I guess now I'm experiencing a guy that can't speak anymore. It is what it is. You see where the difference is here? The difference is if my primary identity is I am, and I'm experiencing something else, I'm experiencing phenomena, I'm experiencing a guy speak, I'm experiencing feelings of hunger, feelings of sexual arousal, all of that, and I'm just right here hanging out. Like, who I am, I am. I don't know how else to put it for you. I'm hanging out here. I'm always hanging out here. Always. Doesn't matter where I am. I'm hanging out here when I'm creating, when I'm in a camera. I'm hanging out when I'm sleeping. I'm hanging out when I'm in the bathroom. I'm hanging out when I'm speaking to my brother. I'm hanging out when I'm walking. I'm just here. I'm always here. Where am I gonna go? I'm always here. I was never born. I was never gonna die. I'm eternal. I'm unchanging. I'm Atman. I'm Brahman. I'm it. I'm hanging out. I'm always hanging out here. I'm always hanging out here. Maybe the stomach that I'm experiencing might be in discomfort, in pain. I ate this thing that I'm experiencing ate something, and I guess there is pain in the stomach. But I'm hanging out here. I'm just, I guess part of the experience now is some discomfortable sensations in the stomach. So then it's different now, because it becomes Saeed is just Saeeding. Like, Saeed is just Saeeding. Saeed is just speaking right now. Speaking is happening. Speaking. Saeeding. That's it. It is what it is. Okay, I'm just hanging out here. I'm watching it. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah. Saeed, you want to make videos? Okay. And it's all like almost mechanically, robotically happening, where you turn on the camera. In this video, we're going to talk about this and blah, 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 blah. So then I am experiencing, secondarily, two identities. I'm experiencing Saeed as a psychological identity, and I'm experiencing the physical body of this psychological entity. Both are finite. Both will cease to exist. Will absolutely cease to exist. I'll go on because where am I gonna go? I'm always here. I'm always right here. You see? So, to become more identified, and it's a lifelong practice, with the Atman, to become more identified with the eternal self, with the unchanging self, with the awareness, which is loving and benevolent, then effectively and ultimately you will no longer experience a sense of worthlessness, because you're not finite. All our feelings of low self-esteem and worthlessness comes from our feeling, our existential doom, essentially. Our feelings of separateness, our feelings of our knowing. We know that one day we will cease to exist. So if our primary identity, which is the physical body, and the psychological identity is our primary identity, then we're always going to be in existential anxiety, and we're always going to feel low self-esteem. We're always going to feel worthless. But if you're eternal and it's just, you're just like kind of hanging out, you're always hanging out, and you're just like, okay, well, you know, speaking is happening. I am experiencing a guy right now that happens to be speaking. That's who I am. I am. There's nothing else after I am. I am then experiencing a guy that is speaking at this moment. So then when the guy loses his tongue, I am experiencing a guy that got his tongue cut by the Mongol hordes. Okay? I guess that's the guy I'm experiencing now. Now, do I feel worthless about it? No. If I'm identified with the I am, then I'm just experiencing it. I'm not placing a moral judgment on it. I'm not looking and seeing like, oh, now I don't speak anymore. I don't have a tongue anymore, so my social status goes down. People, you know, people look at me as demented, someone who needs help, can't speak, etc., etc. Oh my God, oh my God. And then feelings of despair and worthlessness and feelings of separateness. Whereas when you're just the I am experiencing, you say, well, I guess now that's how the buck skids. I guess the way it is I'm experiencing a guy that has no more tongue. And you kind of pick up the pieces and move on and see how you're going to experience reality this time around, because you just always come back for different rounds anyway. This is why it's important to understand reincarnation and pretty much understand that it's the way of things. It's the way it is. Because you understand that it's just a round. You're eternal, you're unchanging, and it's a round. You're right here now, your tongue is not there anymore, and I guess you're the guy that can't speak anymore. Okay. Alright, I guess we'll have to do that for this round and see how it goes, and we'll try different things in different rounds, next rounds, and we'll just kind of pick up the pieces and move forward from here. So then, yeah, basically, we're at that level of vibration, at that level of consciousness, at that level of existence, of identification with the primary self, with the true self, with the deeper self, with the unchanging self, and seeing everything else as a secondary identity. Yeah, you know, it starts to sound really crazy, right? Because like lately, I just kind of, in my mind, I speak to myself in third person. Most of the time, I speak to myself in third person. But when I'm speaking to people, I don't speak in third person because they're gonna think I'm fucking crazy. Okay? Straight up. They're gonna think I'm crazy. So I haven't lost my ability to discriminate and live in the I and identify. No, because I still realize that I have to keep my act together. I have to keep my mask in this game, and I have to play Leela. I have to play the game. I have to play the part of Saeed. So I still identify, obviously, you know. But it's not coming from a place of that's who I am. Ultimately, it's coming from a place of, all right, I guess that's my custom for this round. Let's play it. All right, hi, my name is Saeed. Nice to meet you. I like warm weather. I like the sun. All the storyline, okay? And I do it, of course. I still, because I'm still living at this plane of consciousness, okay? So when I'm with other people, like somebody, a stranger or a cashier or something, or whatever, friends even, yeah, Saeed exists. Saeed is real because everyone else thinks they're real too. So I guess I'll play along. Saeed is real. Saeed has his preferences. He's real. He really likes warm, sunny weather. He really does. He really, really does. Okay? And yeah, he's real. His preferences are real. His personality is real. His physical body is real. Right? He's got pecs that he can juggle. Okay? He's real. He's very real. As far as who I really am is concerned, it's all a big, giant joke. Okay? So, that's about it. If you're interested in this stuff and would like to learn more, I wrote a report on this called The 7 Pillars of Enlightenment. And it's a cute system for Saeed to keep himself on track in this video game, in this game of enlightenment, this game of consciousness. So I think you would find it pretty cool. So just download it. I will leave a link for it down below in the description and in the comments as well. 7 Pillars of Enlightenment, okay? We are all here to bring about the light within us. And I am here to bring out that light, because that unchanging self, that's light, that's pure light, that's pure energy. It's amazing. It's believe me, it's way better than your physical body and your ego. It's like a bazillion times better. Okay? If you really think your physical body is, I mean, I think the physical body is magnificent. I love it, and I love this particular physical body. I think it looks very nice, very well taken care of, and I really dig the way this whole thing looks here. I really like it. I look in the mirror, I say, oh, that's a very beautifully, physically appealing thing to look at. Now, I dig the character Saeed. I think Saeed is pretty cool. He's got a nice personality, and he's quite charming, quite charismatic, right? I dig, but if you think that's cool, Okay, I mean, you haven't really seen and experienced what cool really is. Okay, if you think that show is cool, then wait until you tune to that show where you're pure consciousness and pure energy. So that's about it, guys. God bless you. I love every single one of you guys. Until next time, may the force be with you.